a dreary day, and some of the best meals that you'll ever go to on those cloudy, dreary days, or days where you don't feel good and it's just that kind of, I don't feel like eating, but you have to have something, is you go to the soups. And soups are only as healthy as what's in them. And we're going to go to the basics of feel-good soup, and it's potato soup. However, we're going to make it healthy because we're going to do sweet potato soup. Now, I have 6 cups of sweet potatoes that are diced between a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Not bad. You don't want them too much larger than that because they're going to roast in the oven for about 35 to 45 minutes. Now, the roasting is going to really caramelize the flavor. It's going to make it taste really good. And then we're going to do this on top of the stove. This has a couple of steps, and I'm going to tell you which ones you can do in advance so you can always assemble it at a later date. If you can't do all this in one day, manage your time and spread it out a little bit. It'll be easier for you in the long run. However, the first step we're going to take is dice up our potatoes. Now, this is 2 large sweet potatoes. Now, you may, to get 6 cups, you can either use 2 large or 3 medium ones, or maybe just, depending on how big they are, just kind of gear it up. If it's not quite 6 or a little over 6, don't worry about it. This is not something where the measurement has to be right on. So don't freak out over that. However, a lot of times you'll see people roast and they'll toss everything on the pan. We're not going to do that. The only thing we're going to add to this, and I'm already dropping stuff on the counter, is literally about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, just to give it a little bit of seasoning. And we're going to toss in maybe, let's say, tablespoon? Do a tablespoon of olive oil. And we're going to give this a toss. Okay, so we're just going to toss this around, just mixing everything up. And just get it nice and coated in the oil. It's not quite a tablespoon. You want all the potatoes to be just lightly coated in olive oil. So, depending on how much you have, if you have a little less than 6 cups, you may need a little bit less. If you have a little bit more than 6 cups, a little bit more. Toss it in a bowl like this, and you can see pretty much where it is. Once it looks like it's good and covered, everything's coated, that's perfect. We're going to put this on a baking sheet. Now, I'm using a very large baking sheet because I don't want these piled up on top of one another. You don't want to use like a casserole dish where they're doubled up, because you want literally one layer. You want to kind of give them some room to do their thing, some room to groove here. Just going to spread them all out, give it a little shake, give it some room there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, I have my oven preheating to 400 degrees, and we're going to let this roast between 35 and 45 minutes. Now, that means that these potatoes will be nice and soft and starting to brown on the outside. That browning is great flavor, but don't worry about this taking a long time. The longer time is because sweet potatoes are much more dense than regular potatoes, so they're going to need the extra time in the oven. So, let's put them in the oven and we'll check back when they're done. It's been about 30 minutes. So I'm going to pull this out and check these potatoes and see how we're doing. Oh my goodness. Alright, I'm going to take a fork and just check one of the larger pieces. They're nice and soft, but you know what? I'm going to let it go in for about another 15 minutes. This one's still a little tough, so we're just going to let it go another 15 minutes. Just going to make sure that they're flipped up a little bit. And give a little shake. I'm going to turn the oven off, leave it hot, and put this back in. And then, Alright, now if if you want to break this up, doing the potatoes ahead of time is the first thing you want to do. You would cut them up, but they have to be roasted. When they're finished, you would put them in the fridge, and then when it's time to make the soup, instead of pulling them out of the oven, you'd be pulling them out of the fridge right now. So, we're going to start our soup. And the first thing we're going to do, put a pan on medium heat. Just going to drizzle just a little bit of olive oil, not even a teaspoon. And we're going to start with a really nicely diced onion. And you can see that it's already diced because I did this ahead of time, covered it, and put it in the fridge. So I cut down on my preparation time a little bit today. So that's going into the pot, and we're just going to let that just start to soften the onions a little bit. And one of the ways we do that is a little pinch of salt, just a bit. Now, as soon as these onions start to get translucent, start to get soft, we're going to add the garlic, and the potatoes will be done. These onions have been going for just about 15 minutes, just shy of 15 minutes, and you can see that they're just starting to get translucent. They're starting to lose a little bit of that white. However, the one thing you want to make sure is you can't walk too far away from this onion. We're not using a lot of oil here, and you don't want these to burn. So you're going to kind of keep them in check, give them a little toss. And now we're going to add a couple of more things. All right, so now that the onions are about done, we're going to add in a teaspoon of minced garlic. Now, if you use the garlic quick tip on the computer, online, then you already have this ready to go, peeled. All you have to do is chop it up and throw it in there. Okay, now it is time, as that garlic starts to warm up. You can smell it. The sweet potatoes smell amazing, and it's time to put the sweet potatoes into the pan. So I'm going to pull those out right now. This looks great. The potatoes are in here, the garlic, the onions. Now, this is the last step before I'm going to be just assembling the last little bit of my soup. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do this in an order. I want to mash my potatoes. I don't want this completely soupy. I want to have a little bit of chunk to it. However, I'm just using a hand masher. I'm just going to go through and mash up these potatoes so the soup gets a little bit creamy and it still has a little bit of chunk to it. And I'm not doing a lot of work. I'm just going to mash just a few of those down. Okay, I just mashed these potatoes really not crazy. You can see there's still some chunks in there, but a lot of those are broken up. So now we're ready for the last few ingredients. Okay, here we go. Last little bit. Teaspoon of cinnamon. We're going to do a tablespoon of honey. Right there, just like that. And 1 quart of homemade chicken stock. You can use store-bought chicken stock. If you do, make sure that it doesn't have any sodium in it. This is homemade, so I need to get that little bit out of the bottom. All right, just to start this moving around. And now we're going to let this slow simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes. This soup is off the hook. It looks so good. It's nice and creamy. However, not quite creamy enough. So I'm going to add my last ingredient. And that is 1 cup of fat-free half and half. I use fat-free half and half because I want the creaminess of the cream, but I don't want to add any fat to this. We're making this really, really healthy. And if you are going vegetarian or vegan, you can use vegetable stock and coconut milk. And that would be really delicious as well. Now all this has to do is heat back up. I'm going to turn it down on a simmer, give it a couple of minutes, and it's ready to serve. I just served up a bowl of this soup. It smells amazing. So we've made it super, super healthy, super delicious, and we're going to go outrageous because I'm going to add a little bit more. And just a little scoop, not sour cream, Greek yogurt. The Greek yogurt's going to add that wonderful tang to the soup. It's going to be awesome. And then it's time to take a taste. Now this is my favorite time. A little bit of that yogurt. Look how nice and creamy that is. This is crazy. This is so good. Oh my goodness. This is delicious. That little tang from the yogurt, the sweetness from the sweet potato, you can taste a little bit of the cinnamon. It's perfect. Just the way you want it. We'll see you in the kitchen. Time for lunch.